Okay, let's go.
Hey, y'all.
Welcome to our Unapologetic era, episode 5.
Yeah, it is episode 5.
Man, we're just moving right along. Toot,
We
toot,
are.
toot. So,
We're
yeah.
on TikTok Live while we're doing this today, by the way.
Okay, let's do this. Let's see what we can get out of this. So, thanks for joining us today. Subscribe, like us, send us some notifications, jump in, chime in, comments, messages. We'll take whatever you guys got.
Which we haven't, I do want to clarify, we haven't done like a separate page for the podcast on socials
Right.
yet. We will, but we haven't yet. But yeah, follow us individually and then go subscribe on YouTube. We probably need to start dropping it on like Spotify and Apple too.
Yeah.
I don't really know how to do
Primary focus, go to YouTube. You can find us there at our Unapologetic era. Can't even talk.
it. Unapologetic era.
R.
Our. Yeah, it is a mouthful.
It is R. I can't pronounce O-U-R. And don't ever try it. It took me about 100 tries to spell unapologetic and get it into my head to spell it correctly.
Thank you, autocorrect.
Yeah, but not when you put it together. When you put all 3 words together, add an at,
Oh, like
it doesn't autocorrect.
or if you're doing a hashtag.
Yep.
Mhm.
Yep.
I separate it because it's got more views that way.
Yeah.
Anyhow.
Our unapologetic era, guys. Thanks for joining us today.
Yes.
So today we're gonna dive in. For if y'all haven't been with us before, we're gonna jump into some escapades. First of all, these would be, if you haven't talked to us with us before, those red flag icks that we were in relationships in the past, marriages, not marriages, doesn't matter. Of the red flags we should have seen and got the hell out the moment these things happened, and we did not, and we stayed and sometimes
really
we stayed for years even though these red flags were happening for sure.
You want to go first?
Oh yeah, mine's simple this week.
Yeah, mine's the banger this week.
Yeah, mine is not as extensive, but mine would be my escapades for this episode. I was in a relationship, and this was the only time in any of my relationships that I did that out of the multitude, is I was paying all the bills. And I was so in love I was making the money, not giving out. I was making the money and paying all the bills. This man had a full-time job.
And you didn't tell me that part.
Yeah, man had a full-time job. Was an adult, full
I just
adult.
assumed he was bumming on the couch.
No. And my red flag should have been that this man was just bumming it in my house, and that I was paying 100% of the bills, and he was doing nothing. I can't say he was doing nothing. He was spending a majority of his money on coke, but
This wasn't your ex-husband, though.
which I was not involved in. For anyone that knows me, I've
No.
am not a
That's
drinker. I do not do drugs. I never have in my life. So this was all behind my back, that I was not present or known that was happening. But that was definitely my red flag. I should have known. And I stayed in this relationship for many years of just paying bills and taking care of this man because I was like, oh, he needs help and he loves me. And right? Shouldn't that have been
Is this
like
before or after kids?
before kids?
Wow.
Before kids, and I should have just got the hell out, and that should have been my red flag of
That's a
I
huge
was
red flag.
financially supporting a man that had a full
There
job.
are, like whole books written on that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
No.
that's my escapades for this.
And now you wonder why you're married to somebody who's so like,
Frugal.
we owe 5 cents.
Well, we never have fives, and I don't laugh because he's not cheap. He literally will let me have anything and everything I want.
As long as you get the best deal on it.
But he lets me travel the world. He lets me do whatever I want. I never get told no, but it's got to be done in a frugal way.
Or he might say you have to wait.
I have to wait. In his little accent. I like your accent there that you gave him.
My Hungarian accent. So mine is like really ridiculous and horrible. It's so bad. I have an ex that I not on purpose was tracking. He just happened to leave his laptop connected to his phone and he would go MIA, and I figured it out by accident that I could see everywhere he was going through the Google app
Yes.
because he's an Android user. And one night he didn't come home, and he was at a hotel that was known for, you know, escapades. It was known for
Extracurricular activities.
services. Yeah. So my insane, dumb ass, instead of and this was the other thing too, because I didn't want him to know that I could see where he was at. I just wanted to keep my eye on him. And so I couldn't go show up.
But there was reasons for keeping an eye on him. There's past behaviors before this. There was, but yeah. But go ahead into the.
This was years.
Yeah, this was years. This wasn't just randomly out of the blue.
But this particular situation was really scrumptious. So yeah, he ended up at this place that was well known for its extracurricular paid for services. So I did a little research because I had another ex that I learned about these back page stuff. I don't know if I can say, because I don't know what I can and can't say with that. But so I started doing research, and I found the working girls of that area on some of these dark sites and just started emailing them all. Well, if they had, because they were soliciting themselves. So if they had a phone number, I would text them. Most of them only had email addresses, which was kind of weird. So I would email them or I would text them, and I just would send a picture of my man at the time. And I was like, have you seen this man? And none of them really responded, but one did. And I'm assuming it was a she. She said, I might have some information on him. It's going to cost you $100. And I was like, I don't have $100 because the man had the money. And so, red flag, I had to then ask his mother for the money so that I could find out if it was him. His mother did give me the money, which was very nice of her.
But you had to give full explanation to his mother of why you needed the money?
I told her everything.
Okay. Oh. Okay.
Told her everything. It was one of those situations where, of course, she was disappointed, but it was like, we're going to find out what's going on. Here's $100.
Best mother-in-law.
I'm trying to think about timeline, because it went into the next day, but I'm trying to remember when I actually asked her for it. But anyway, she did give it to me. I did help. I did get help, and I sent the money, and I was never told if it was him or not because the person was smarter than me. They knew how to hustle the money. I did not know how to not hustle the money. They got the $100. I never found out if they knew my man or not, but it still happened.
So everybody got screwed literally and figuratively in the scenario.
I am assuming everyone got screwed.
Yeah.
I never knew. I did eventually come out and tell the man in my life at that time that I did know about this. I was told that it wasn't what I thought it was. He had been there, but it wasn't for paid for service. It was for a drug problem, I think. But anyway, not any better. Which brings us back to escapades. I stayed with this person for years after that, and he made me feel bad for bringing it back up.
And then you got busted for tracking. I would imagine.
But I didn't get busted with that circumstance because I waited. I did not tell him I knew about it. And Mom helped me keep it under wraps because she realized I was keeping my eye on him and she was worried. But later down, I was probably a year later. I don't know why one night all of a sudden I just was like, screw it. I'm going to find him. And I pulled up in front of his car. He was walking out of some random person's house. I pulled up in front of his car, and I was like, and he's like, what are you doing here? And I'm like, what are you doing here? It's 5 a.m. Whose house is this? By the way, I never found out whose house it was. I never. And to this day, he would say, nothing happened. It was completely innocent.
At 5 a.m. at a random.
Yeah, whenever you're supposed to be at home.
Nothing, you know what Mama says, nothing good happens after midnight.
Well, we're going to push it to 2, but yeah. On a Tuesday night, yeah, you're right. And these were always on it wasn't a Saturday night. It was just a regular, I had to bring my kids to school the next morning night.
Oh, no, 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 no.
Yeah. So anyway, my escapade is delicious.
That was a good one.
That's not even why I left him.
Because all those red flags that we've both had all previously to all these men aren't even the breaking points of the back that should have been. Like it should have.
No.
So in leading up to all these men or the men after or anything, have you ever considered any of the men that gave you all the green flags that you would consider your missed loves that you
I'm
should have
sure.
wished you would have
There's
stayed
a lot of
with?
great guys that have passed on. Little Hands, I should not have passed on, but
Wait, little hands.
well, Little Hands was recent. Like since my last breakup.
Was there little hands, little feet, little things all together?
I don't know. I didn't give him that much of a chance.
Aw.
But Little Hands also had triplets, and that freaked me out. But he was a good guy. And my point is he was a good guy. He was a very good guy. Like, this was the guy my parents would have loved for me to bring home. My ex-boyfriend even met him and was like, you can date my ex. Like, I would like that. Like, that's how good of a guy he was. And I was like, not interested.
Why? What?
Small hands.
I will give you credit of that. The only person I've ever dated that has small hands did have a micro penis.
Well, he was kind of a small guy altogether. Not tiny, not like little bitty man, but
But you didn't find out.
there were some other things that threw me off. I wasn't ready to be dating someone of that caliber, of that quality. I really wasn't. So that was a timing thing. It was a timing thing. But yeah, I mean, there was a real missed love from college, like real love. But you know, I was in college. It's timing.
Is it really?
He's been a great husband to the wife he has. Yeah.
Has he?
I mean, they're still together. I'm single, so.
Yeah, I'm sure there's been some escapades on the back end of that one that we are unaware of, or that we are aware of that they resolved.
You know, that's not my business.
Not my business, not my marriage, not my monkeys.
Not my monkeys, not my circus. I have a plenty big enough circus.
And then, I mean, that's a good point because it's like we're in the college level or shortly high school level or to the point of all these green flags, everything's ready to go, but there's not an emotional intelligence level on your part or his part that may have brought you to the level that you needed to be in a full relationship.
I will say that's a good point because with the college one, I thought I was emotionally mature enough to get married and start a family, which I did do, just not with him.
Right.
And I wasn't ready. I absolutely was not ready. I did stick, like I was committed. I was loyal. I loved my family, but I would have been a better wife and even a better first-time mother if I had waited and done a little bit like soul searching first. So maybe the Miss Love was smarter than me in that sense, but because he definitely did wait to marry and start his family and everything. I don't know. I would say that my first divorce has made me a much better person.
Of an emotional level, of emotional
Yes.
intelligence, of
Because it made me
recognization.
have to look inward a lot. And instead of just coasting and like just living life at the surface level, I had to really dive in. I don't know if I would have done that if we had stayed together. Because life was easy.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, there's also sometimes like, I don't want to look inside sometimes. Like sometimes I want to live in denial, and I have done it for many a times.
How do you think I slept after the escapades?
Yeah. You just live in denial. I'm like, I'm not going to be emotionally intelligent in this situation. I'm just going to react
I slept next to that man after that.
for years. And I mean, you're right. Like in the one of my escapades in this situation, eventually I did break up with him and I was in another relationship. And I would absolutely say that was probably my mislove scenario that I was not emotionally intelligent for, that I had not recovered from that previous relationship that had a lot of narcissistic tendencies or red flags that I didn't recognize. And he was emotionally ready. And he had that intelligence that needed to be there that I did not.
Ooh, guess what?
What?
People, I'm going to say people, not men or women, although for me it matters for men, that are emotionally mature are not exciting.
Well, yeah, my husband's bored in hell.
But you know what? He's good for you. But if the exciting is what like you drives you, you're gonna be in one unhealthy toxic situation after another, and that's not just romantically; it's platonic also. Your friendships are gonna be that way.
Absolutely. Because I mean, like, that's what I've talked to you about this before outside of this scenario. It's like, I'm so bored. And you're like, it's because you've been at a heightened level for so long in relationships. This is what a normal relationship is supposed to be. And you're not used to it. And then once you accept that kind of peace inside yourself and you reach your emotional intelligence level of accepting it's not boring. It's just what normal relationships, healthy
I think
relationships.
it's called maturing.
Yeah, should be. I mean, it
so
only took me
crazy.
until I was 43 to be emotionally mature, but that's sad. But
Right, that's what I was gonna say was that this is nuts because I've now reached this point in my life that we've been being told about our whole lives. Like, oh, you know, when you get to a certain age, like certain things should start to happen. And I'm not talking about getting chunky. All of a sudden, it did. And it wasn't like something clicked. It wasn't a click. It was, you know, those things just aren't important to me anymore.
right.
I will say I had a really hard breakup 2 years ago, and the self-growth that I've had in the last 2 years has been tremendous. I don't think it was solely because of the breakup, but I will say I was so brokenhearted after that breakup that I stayed by myself for a long. Like I've been by myself. I haven't dated. I haven't done anything more than a date or two with somebody. I haven't had any sort of emotional attachment,
Right.
which meant I've been with myself, and I've grown a lot. And now I'm okay with the quiet. I was not okay with the quiet before. I mean, I had the EX-CAPADES guy, and then before that, I had my ex-husband who. That was a roller coaster. I stayed in survival mode for so long. And to an extent, I still am in survival mode because I only have myself to rely on, but I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I
That's
don't
an emotional
feel that-
maturity.
I don't feel
Yeah.
that need to constantly be searching for someone else to fill the gap.
That's good. But and mine didn't. You're right. It's not a click. I mean, mine probably over the past 3 years. It was a gradual thing. And it really was a mind fuck.
Yes.
It is such a mind fuck because it's like, as
It's
you're
almost like my mind goes back and forth with itself. Yeah.
Yes. It's a battle internally of this emotional maturity that you're after your body's out of fight or flight mode, after you're out of these toxic relationships. And it legitimately was a 3-year process for my body to unfuck itself. It's insane.
I look, I'm telling you, the last 2 years have been so tough, but also so freeing. And that sounds so cheesy to say, but it's just absolutely the truth. It really is. Like I feel so much better about who I am as a person. And I did also after my first divorce too, I had a little bit of that. But I don't think I was still fully ready, and I was in such survival mode.
Oh, absolutely.
Such survival mode because there was still so much abuse happening post divorce even. But I still felt like now I'm taking care of me a little bit, not truly. I don't know what happened in the last couple of years. I don't know like why. I don't know what shifts in us. I hate to say that it was something in my life that caused it. I'm not really sure. Because you're saying, I'm like, you're around the same age as me and you're saying the same thing happened. All I know is that I remember my parents, my grandparents, my aunts, my uncles, like them always saying things about when you're in your 40s, you're going to realize it. And now I'm here and I'm like, oh my God, they were right. And how again am I in my 40s? Like, how did this happen? That's the internal dialogue that happens is I'm like, oh, I'm having this like super mature feelings and thoughts. And I'm like, hold the hell on a second. Who do you think you are?
But you know what's crazy is there's a wild little, I don't cougar because that's not right, but there's a little something inside that
tingle's still there.
the tingle's still there, and I still feel like I'm 29 sometimes. Like, you know, I'm 29, but there's emotional maturity of not to do stupid, ridiculous things, and I am in a mature relationship, but I can still go out and like.
I can tear it up.
Yes.
Don't get me wrong. I can tear it up, and I do love my baby cubs, but for a night.
Right.
It's just for a night. And then you need to go home. And if you don't, you're getting blasted on the Snapchat.
But yeah, it's insane that the transition you watch your body, your mind, and everything go through as you're emotionally maturing. And I just, and it, for me, I don't think my emotional maturity at the point, this 3 years that we're talking about, even necessarily stopped until even a couple months ago. If that even makes sense. Like I finally,
It probably comes like, it probably does, it
it's
comes
a
in waves. Yeah.
It is. But you know what it was? And it's all through therapy, to be honest with you. She's like, you gotta, well, one, you gotta quit people pleasing. And that was a huge thing. And I watched.
And like actually quit doing it.
Quit doing
Yeah.
it. And you can't be there for everybody all the time. Like, you gotta stop. And if something bothers you,
Well, I think
it's not relevant.
I've
immediate.
because I know exactly what you're talking about also, and I've struggled with communicating that and it not sounding like I'm resentful in some way. For me on my end.
For being a bitch.
For being a bitch and for not to go back to like all the DMs and all that kind of stuff, I really don't care to respond. Like, I don't feel any need or desire to respond to these people unless I'm looking for entertainment. And I feel like that comes across to other people who aren't at my level. And I hate to say that. That sounds so terrible. But do you understand what I'm saying? Like, we'll just say age just to keep it sounding better. But that aren't my age to understand, no, this is not a personal thing. This is not a personal problem I have with you. This is a personal decision I've made to keep my own peace.
It's a boundary.
Yeah, and I just don't care what you're doing with your life.
Right. But those toxic people aren't willing to accept the boundaries.
No.
So that's another
They'll
red
push and
flag.
Which also rounds us back to the DMs thing too, because I think that's why they're so persistent.
Yeah.
Because they want to push you and push you and push you because they're not feeling like they're getting what they need out of it.
Right.
So they'll push and push and push until you either are pissed off, like they get a reaction out of you,
Right.
essentially.
And that's another red flag narcissistic tendency is they're going to push and push and push and push. And once you react, you're the bad guy.
Yeah. And it's not even a matter of not falling for it anymore. I just don't care.
Yeah. So it's just finding a green flag. That's someone that respects your boundaries in a healthy way.
I don't know how to explain what the difference between confidence and arrogance is. And I know this is discussed all the time amongst so many people whenever it comes to the single world and dating and growing up in general.
Right.
But it's easy to read if you use a little bit of life experience. The difference between arrogance and confidence goes a long way for both men and women.
It's a character. I mean, it would be a character I would look for in a person. Like,
Absolutely.
It's an emotional intelligence and stability that they would have. I mean,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And usually somebody who's a red flag or narcissistic tendencies are going to have that, their confidence is going to come off as arrogant.
Mm-hmm.
Because underneath it is a lot of insecurities.
Absolutely.
So they're trying to build over it. And so you have to be able to see through that.
Mm-hmm.
But when someone asks me on a date, to be clear, if someone asks me on a date and it comes off as arrogant, I'm going to blow them off. But I have never said no to somebody who asks me on a date and it is just, like, you can just tell. It's just out of pure, like, I'd like to take you out. It's not, I don't know. I can't communicate it. I can't put it into words what I'm trying to say. But
It's a vibe. It's a vibe with the message they're sending, I feel like. And you can, it's something you're reading into, like, not reading into it, but you can read the verbiage of how they're saying it. Like, it's a vibe they're putting off on the verbiage they're using.
Yeah.
And you can and it's a gut feeling is what it comes down to. It's just a gut feeling.
It's a gut feeling, which I will say for years I was worried that my gut couldn't be trusted anymore. My gut can be trusted, but I've struggled with trying to explain the difference between, like, what a man is. And this goes both ways. We talked about it in the last episode. This goes both ways for men and women. It's not just women need to have their own emotional maturity to step up, and we need to be ready and prepared for a man. But a man being a man can lead and help.
And my husband says the same thing.
He's the foundation.
He's the foundation. And that's what my husband says too, is like, he's there to guide and provide. But a wife also has to be in the supportive role to back your husband that's guiding you. But that comes back to values of, you have to have the shared values to be on the same page. Which
so many people are overlooking. That is a huge, even when I was talking about the whole interview process that people are doing now with relationships, they're really not, they might ask about integrity, character, and values, but they're not really putting that in as a priority.
Right.
Their priorities are materialistic things.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, I didn't think about that when you're like describing this
It's
list.
tangible things.
But the things that are going to get you to the rocking chair when you're 80, like they're describing, are the core values and morals. And
I mean, I joke about it, but it's true. It really is true. This day and age, you do not want to be the first wife. You just don't. You do not want to be. I don't even know if you want to be the second. You might just want to be the third.
yeah, but then your divorce rate's like 90%.
You keep telling me that, and I'm just not going to believe you on that one. I'm going to stay in my own little delusional world with that one. I will say this, too. I have no desire, or desire is not the right word. I have no, I don't feel any sort of drive to have to be married again. Do I love being a wife? I absolutely do. I really do love being a wife. I can be someone's wife without going down the aisle again.
Yeah.
I can spend the rest of my life with somebody perfectly happy and not have to be legally attached to them or wear a white dress again. I may if it feels right, but it's not necessary for me.
Do you think, okay, so by the time you have your first, your second, and third, you have this form as a woman of an independence, and not an independence of I can take care of myself, an independence of I have my friends, I have my hobbies, I don't need to be attached to you all the time. And I think a lot of men look for that. It's not like,
Oh, especially at our age.
yeah. And I think maybe that's where the comfort zone comes in. And when you're saying a third marriage is you're established in emotional intelligence and who you are as a woman. And that's what a man would like. Like, it doesn't,
You're a real supporting role.
that's when, yeah, exactly.
Truly are. And I don't care who's offended by that. That is our job, is to be their support, like to be their support.
Right.
And now let me say, I cannot be your support if you can't be the main character.
Right.
If you cannot be the main character, I cannot be your support.
'Cause then-
somebody has to main.
Yeah. And then, because at that point, you're forced as a woman into the main character role, which
Now the supposed to be main,
yeah,
who's now playing he's understudy essentially.
Right.
He's resentful and he's pissed off. And instead of him stepping up and being main, he continues to just build this resentment, and that's where your 90% divorce rate comes from.
right,
Because everything falls apart. The woman cannot hold it all together. She's not built to hold it all together.
right.
And the guy is not built to be a bitch. So it's going to fall apart. So right off the top, right from the beginning, if the guy can't lay the foundation from right out the gate, move on.
And I think, again, doesn't that all wrap around back to your emotional intelligence?
Absolutely.
And when it comes
somebody
down to
who's
it-
sending out DMs, DM after DM, that person is not working on their emotional intelligence. Honey, go away.
Right.
Just go away. I don't want to play with you. Or your pecker.
Or your any gun, eggplant, nothing. You're not playing with it.
Wait, you want to know something funny about my 14-year-old didn't know what something about Mary was. This is how we're getting old.
I don't want to sit and watch that with him, though.
But I made a reference to a friend. Not that he didn't know what it was. My 14-year-old did not know what it was, but I made a reference to a friend who should have known. And I had to go look up on YouTube, where he's unloading his gun before the date. And then she puts the hair gel in her hair and he's talking to her. And I was like, how do you not know? This is iconic. Go unload your gun.
Before you're dating.
Yeah. Don't call me back till you've unloaded your gun.
All right, guys. Well, that is episode 5. So thanks for joining us. Subscribe, like, comment. We love to hear from you guys and whatever you want us to talk about and engage with y'all. Follow us. Quit liking and unliking us. But we love you guys. Thanks a lot.
Thanks.
Bye, Felicia.